record it. So we are all theoretically live now. I'm just going to give it a moment to make sure it's up on our YouTube. I did a trial run earlier today and it worked great. I know there's about a few second lag.
What's the name of it again, Judith?
It's OBS, which stands for, I can't remember honestly. OBS is the abbreviation.
I'll just say OBS.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Home is our, go to our channel. Your channel. Of course, now I don't see it. Videos. Well, we're recording anyhow. And I know there is a bit of a lag. So I'm going to assume we're good. And let us carry on. But here's my token. You're being recorded now. So Marie, the meeting's all yours.
Okay, we will call the October 12th meeting to order and welcome any visitors or public comments. And we will look at the approval of the September minutes. And before everyone came, I congratulated Lori for, I thought, excellent minutes.
I have just a couple things on the third page.
All right.
Under meeting format, they're just like I said, they're clerical things. Under meeting format, yes, we will lose the ability.
Right.
And the ability to record the meet. Maybe did you want that word as meets or meetings?
Meet, because that's the name of the software.
Oh, apologize. Got it. Apologize. That's it.
Cool.
Sorry.
And are there any other revisions suggested? All right. So now we will entertain a motion to accept the September minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
Second?
I second it.
Meredith. Thank you. All in favor?
Thanks, Meredith.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Okay, we'll go on to the director's reports.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Sheila? It's just disorienting. There we go. Didn't know if you meant to be sideways or not. Present now. Entire screen. Okay, can folks see a slide presentation?
No.
No.
Okay, let me go back and reshare it. Things are just not flying today. Share, and then here we go. Is that any better?
That's much better.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these one at a time. I'm going to start off talking about some programs. So we knew we couldn't do an in-person Halloween event, which is unfortunate because it falls on a Saturday this year, so we decided to do a Halloween candy bracket. It's entirely virtual. We have about 50 people participating, which I'm happy with. There were 64 candies at start. At the end of 4 weeks, we will know what RCS's favorite candy is. Round 2 started today, so it's, it's insubstantial, but it's a way of doing some seasonal engagement, which is good. We had a Batman Day at the library on September 19th, and that was probably as close to an in-person program as we're likely to get. It was a drop-in program. People could pick up Batman comic books and then various Batman activities. It was successful. All the Batman comics went, and I think most of the activities did as well. So it was nice in that families could kind of see one another, but they didn't stay in the library and complete the activities. So kind of a hybrid program, I suppose. So we've been still struggling a little bit with, are there any virtual programs that'll work? And we're really not gaining much traction. Alex did this for us. He had modest success with it in the spring, but this time the only people who came were people he knew personally. We didn't have any kind of people who saw it on the library's Facebook and decided to come that way. So that was disappointing. We are doing the Great Give Back. Some of you may recall that last fall we baked cookies for the community. That was something that we got to reinvent this year. We went much simpler. I talked to the food pantry coordinators at Trinity United Methodist and St. Patrick's, and they said that their greatest need was probably for paper goods, because people don't often think of that when they are doing food pantry donations, and people cannot buy them if they're using EBT cards. So it's an unmet need. The box in the library was filling up nicely, and we also partnered with Shop and Save. People can buy the paper goods at Shop and Save and leave them in the box for St. Patrick's there. So it's nice seeing that being able to benefit some community partners. We did a flyer that promotes some of our early childhood services, and we sent this to all the families in Head Start and Little Feet, and Lori very kindly took a bunch of them to Circle of Friends. So we're hoping to get the word out to the families with our youngest visitors. We have done weekly preschool crafts still. Kathy and Liz are doing our online and in the park story times. They're going through the alphabet, so this is our 5th week, A, B, C, D, E, yes. Our 5th week of following the alphabet. They kind of started when the school year started. So every week we have a craft that matches the storytime theme, and then each week of the month we do a craft for school-age kids. This was the one in September. This was really popular. They all went within a few hours of our putting them out, I think. People actually come into the library to pick them up, so they're not on the table outside. We did a teen tween craft. We had a couple actual teenagers come and take it, which was very exciting. And most of the other ones went to adults and a couple to families. We kind of target an age group with these activities. It's not like a strict delineation, but we want to make sure that we're doing something for each age group. And then our adult craft was this air plant. We had to do a course correction kind of last minute. We had bought these vials, so people were going to put the air plant in these vials and put a magnet on it and put it in their fridge, but the plants were too big for the vials. So voila, we had some rocks and some wire on hand at the library, so that's what the craft turned into. They also were popular and went quickly. Something that hasn't been going as well are the book bundles. We have a form that folks can fill out to request picture books or school-age kid books or adult books. We do a little bit of traffic in the picture books, but almost nothing for the kids books, older kids books, and adult books. So this is something we need to work a little bit on the publicity for. I'm trying to kind of keep half a mind on what's going to happen if things do shut down again. Like, are people going to know about the services that are available? Because this is very conducive to curbside service for folks who don't want to request specific titles or don't know specifically what they want to read. This is something that Carol and I worked on last week. Basically,
I was wondering what that was.
yeah, Carol did all the artsy parts, and I painted in the big squares. It was good teamwork. But there were a few families that kind of gave a test run as we were finishing it up on Thursday and Friday. It had a lot of fun. We used acrylic paint, so I think it'll probably stick around for the fall into early winter. And we're hoping that families enjoy it. It's something that you can do outside at any time, and it was a lot of fun to put together as well. So that's probably our newest program piece. A couple other just nuts and bolts on we finished the work for the needlepoint bipolar ionization in the HVAC system. I expect to see the New York State funds for that next fall. I got a phone call from a former library board member who said she had a couple missed calls from the library. She no longer lives in the area. And finally, she answered one, just thinking, gosh, maybe there's something important. They need to get in touch with me. And it was a live person who was purporting to be doing a survey on behalf of the RCS community library. But then when she said, well, are you based in Romania? He said, no, well, I'm in America. At which point she hung up. So I haven't heard anything else about this. I reached out to other libraries to see if they'd have any reports about this, and they had not. I haven't heard back from her that it happened again. I just wanted to mention it as an oddity. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some kind of scam and our name just happened to get picked and someone who'd heard of us happened to get called, perhaps. That's my working theory, but I really don't know. If you've driven down Main Street, you know that they are doing construction work on the water mains. Originally, we had planned to do that obstacle course on the real sidewalk, but talked to the construction crew and quickly learned that would not be a good idea. It does make the library look like it's a construction site as you drive up the road, but other than that, the impact hasn't been particularly problematic. They dumped some big pipes under the road one day and the whole building shook, but happily, the roof didn't come off or anything like that, so that's a good sign. We seem to have passed that stress test, and at some point, apparently, the water will be turned off to the building, and I don't know when that's going to be yet. Next thing is a new school district partnership. Basically, the library offers our patrons Overdrive or Libby, depending on which interface you use, and the school district offers Sora. Those two products are owned by the same company, so as long as the school district signs an MOU that says, yes, we want our students to have access to the public library's materials that are digital through Overdrive, they can now access our Overdrive materials using their school ID that they would use to sign into the school's website. Because there aren't any elementary school librarians at RCS, I don't know if the kids know about the service, so one of the things on my to-do list is to see if I can reach out to the 2 elementary school buildings and get the principal to okay communication out to let the parents know that it is an option. Doors Storm is my very shorthand reference to while the library didn't really lose any power during Wednesday's storm, our doors, the Main Street doors, blew open in some kind of weird vacuum situation. They all flew open all at once, which was good timing because the next day I got an email from the company that's replacing those doors saying that the doors themselves have come in and now we just need to schedule the work. It's been a really long process. Unfortunately, it's not really urgent, but the fact that they don't stay latched when the weather pressure changes rapidly is one more reason that they're getting replaced. I have 2 virtual interns from SUNY. This is a Lori Dickerson connection. I think her tennis partner is a professor at the business school. Did I get that right, Lori? I can't see.
Yeah, it's not my partner, but a dear friend who I play tennis with. Yeah.
Yeah. I spoke to her a couple times over the summer, describing a couple of projects that might make sense for an intern to work on. So I got assigned these 2 young women who are working on their MBAs. Their concentration, and I think Lori's friend's professorship, is kind of HR focused. So one of the projects is kind of a job description, organizational chart focused project. She's going to interview all the staff members about the job functions and then compare them with the civil service job functions and kind of create kind of more real life job descriptions and look at how everyone works together. This is something that we started ages ago but kind of hit a wall with, so I'm happy that it's got a new life. And along similar lines, folks may remember that we started a green business certification process. They are working with us on that as well. So I'm really impressed by their maturity and their initiative, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be a productive partnership. And the very last thing is...
Glad to hear it's working out.
Yeah, no, it's really, I'm really impressed by them. It's been a pleasure. Folks may remember that last month there were 3 things that were recommended by or I think required by the insurance company's inspector. I did talk to John and Anna Triello, and she said, yeah, you kind of have to do these things. So one of them was have an electrical inspection. So the inspector came earlier this past week, and I included his report in my packet. Is that going to be the next thing in my scan? I don't know if it's indexing in my scan or not. I think it's not. But if folks saw that, it was interesting. Some of the things were, two of the things were really minor. He thought that a couple of the panels of the circuit breaker were a little bit loose, but they were for panels that we weren't using. So it says, it's best practice to have this all tightened up. The one thing that really surprised me and made me very glad he was there, in that silent study room space, which usually is a space accessible to the public, in the closet in that room, there is a large white metal box that I've never opened. But I learned that if you do open it, what you see is basically the live electrical feed. So he's like, oh, if someone opened this, they could electrocute themselves. So it is now padlocked.
Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting that
Oh, my
we
gosh.
have at least an annual, maybe even a biannual, I'm not positive, electrical inspection at the library, and this has never been mentioned. So I figure, I don't know, I haven't gotten his invoice yet, so I don't know what it's going to cost us, but I thought that little piece right there was definitely worth it. Okay, so any questions about any of that? Okay.
If there are none, okay.
All right. So I'm going to move on to the numbers piece then. Let me just tilt my binder sideways. I know that when I scan it, some of them are vertical and some of them are sideways. I apologize for that. It's the best way to get them to fit on the paper. So the good news on the circulation stats is that overall, our circulation this past September was 94% of what it was last September, which, considering our foot traffic is, less than half, that is pretty good. It made me happy. A lot of that weight is carried by e-content. It is our single largest circulation area, and that was up 21%. And there were this month, very small declines in adult fiction, adult nonfiction, and single-digit declines in kids fiction, and as we've grown used to seeing, double-digit declines in DVDs and other kind of physical media. I wanted to delve a little bit into the breakdown between music CDs and compact disc CDs. So the next page is a different report. It looks at items that are RCS items, so items that live at our library that go out to our patrons. So in this past September, I thought this is really interesting. The items that in the far right column that are green or gray, depending if you have a color or a black and white printer, are items that had an increase in their local circulation. Music CDs were up a quarter. Adult fiction was up 67%, which I thought was really amazing. Adult large print was down 44%, so that really is kind of some evidence that we are seeing older people, who are, of course, are more likely to be the large print readers, not coming into the library. But kind of your regular print readers must have more time on their hands because they've been coming into the library and picking up our books off the shelf more often. Unsurprisingly, spoken audiobooks were down, but they're only down 12%, which is less than I thought. And then the next page is the e-content numbers, which are particularly interesting this year. You can see that compared to the whole system, actual e-books as opposed to e-content is up less at RCS than it is at the system average, but audiobooks are up more here, and DVDs are up way more here at RCS. We circulate almost as many digital audiobooks as ebooks, and I wonder if that has a connection with, it's a fair amount of people commute, they have that drive time, they like to download little audiobooks. That's just speculation on my part, but I thought it was interesting that we really are kind of a heavy audiobook community. You can see that the number of audiobook users on the next page just keeps on going up. We're at almost 600 unique users. And you can see also that there was a substantial spike in April, which of course was the month that people were really like, oh, the library's going to be closed for a while. So people started signing up to use the library's e-content for the first time. So these are unique users for the first time. Laura? Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
So do the audiobooks include the books from Libby?
Yes, so the audiobooks here are probably 90% of the books from Libby. Some people use Overdrive. It's a little confusing that basically the same product uses two different names. So yes.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Yeah, I'll just call it Overdrive, and that encompasses Libby.
Okay.
Folks will remember that we also now offer Hoopla. It's a new service that we started to offer, I think, in May, or April rather. And the difference between Hoopla and Overdrive is Hoopla never has a wait time. So it's a simultaneous use model. So anyone can log in. It's great for book clubs because all 6 people in the book club or all 10 people in the book club can get the same title at the same time, never having to wait. The selection is a lot smaller. That's the downside. But that's, moderately popular. And then I thought the most interesting thing of all in this report was the breakdown of digital audiobook borrowing and physical audiobook borrowing. I asked all the staff members to guess because I'm mean like that, and it was 92% digital, 8% physical. And it's tempting. It's almost enough to stop buying physical books on CD. But there are a few members of kind of the older generation who almost often can't read anymore, and they know how to do the CDs, are familiar with the CDs, and they're not, a lot of them are in their 90s, and they're not about to make the leap to digital at this point. So I think we've got a few more years of buying books on CD, but you can definitely see that trend sunsetting there. In the last year, we almost checked out equal amounts of physical and digital content. I mean, of course, our being shut down for 3 months was a big part of that. But it'll be interesting to see how those trends continue next year. I think a lot of our new ebook users are continuing to use e-content. That doesn't mean they're never borrowing books, but I think we have definitely created a bunch of new users. And lastly, you can see the upward digital checkouts trend and the downward physical checkouts trend, including that precipitous drop-off in 2020. So, any questions on any of those numbers? Okay, on to the finances. Okay. So we have not gotten our levy yet. I have not asked about our levy yet. Probably asking, send a reaching out for feelers email next week to the school district. I have not heard that levy collections are down, but I also have not heard anything. So it's kind of a wait and see thing at this point. Our desk receipts are 70% of what we budgeted for, which, considering that we're charging no fines for books that are late and no fines for small transactions, 6 pages of copies or less or fewer, are free. I think that is a nice number to see. I'm expecting that we'll get the LLSA aid in November. Other notable things for electric rather, you'll see that we have spent nothing. Last week we got a lump sum bill in the mail from Central Hudson for April through September. I don't know who amongst you are Central Hudson customers, but did anyone else see that?
We saw that for the Historical Society for a couple of months. They said there was some kind of a code change.
Yeah, so our
Yeah.
our electric bill is going to that line is going to be really different next month. It'll be way over because it's going to have a couple months from last year in it as well. And then the capital improvement, that was the HVAC installation. And that was really kind of the two main outliers on the financials. Any questions about any of that?
No.
Cool. So you may have seen Lori had been out of town and she came in today and kind of cut the remaining checks. I emailed them out probably less than an hour ago. So if we could just review those so that we have the motion to approve them for the minutes, that would be excellent. I'll pull them up on my screen too and share my screen if that's helpful. Oops. Sheila, I just see your email. I'm glad you made it. Okay. Sent. Back register. And honestly, I haven't looked at this yet, so. Here we go. Let's share my screen. Okay, back to the meet. Meet, present, entire screen, share, and okay. Can folks see the register?
Dear.
Yes.
Okay, good. Just looking at it, it promised my memory. So Vesta and Son again sent us an estimate for the snowing and salting that I thought was really a bit crazy. So Brendan has agreed to do that work for us again. He is now entirely virtual at Sienna, so that's a win-win for us. And I don't think there's anything else here that is out of the ordinary. It's all yours, Marie.
All right, so I think we need to have a motion to accept the
I make that motion to accept.
transaction report as of October 12th, 2020. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can you tell me again what the motion is, Marie, please?
That we're going to accept the custom transaction detailed report as of October 12th, 2020. And
Thank
it was, and you have Trish and yourself as.
Yes.
It's fine. Are there any other comments about the financial reports, Judith? Do you want to make? No?
Nope.
Okay, if not, we'll.
Sounds like someone
Pardon?
has the news on in the background. If the news is on in your background, could you perhaps mute? There we go. Thanks.
Okay. We'll go on to new business. And we want to talk about the ULAN fee possibilities. Judith and I discussed the other day.
Okay, so this is our colorful chart. The deal here is, so member libraries all pay a fee to Upper Hudson for services. Upper Hudson gets about 60 or 70% of its operating budget directly from state funds, and the other 20 or 30% from member libraries. And traditionally, they've done like a 2% increase a year, which has always been very manageable. This year, of course, Upper Hudson's getting really hit by that 20% cut in state aid. And so I was at a meeting, I guess a little over a week ago, where Tim kind of presented his normal 2% increase, and mentioned that they may need to cut the courier service by a day or reduce staffing at Upper Hudson. And the feedback from the member libraries, RCS included, was that these services really are essential. If the courier service, we rely on that. It's bad enough already because everything's been quarantined, everything is slowed down a lot. So to see that get even worse is something that we would very much like to avoid. And similarly, there's not any obvious fat in the Upper Hudson staffing levels. They're a fairly bare bones operation, and their services are really useful. We call Rawdon frequently. Solves a lot of problems for us. It's fantastic. So the member library said to Upper Hudson, okay, can you go back and kind of throw out some other numbers at us? What would it look like to increase the member library contribution more? And here's the tricky bit. he sent that out. He sent out the 2%, 5%, and 10%. What he did not send out was kind of what services that would save. So it's really hard to make a judgment as to what we want to pay without knowing what do you get. If it were the case that they increased it by 10%, that would be insufficient to stop cuts for the courier service, because again, this is a 10% cut to a quarter of the budget, whereas there is a 20% cut to 3/4 of the budget. So the math on that is challenging, to say the least. So I just wanted to let you guys know that there's a possibility that there would be a fee increase that was higher, and to get a sense of folks' just appetite for that. Fortunately, it's even at 10%, it's only $700 more, which is, I don't want to say nothing, but it's a marginal increase. So I wanted to mainly give you guys a heads up, and if anyone has any questions or reactions, I'd like to know what they are. And just a bigger picture.
Well, I think we should support land as much as possible.
I didn't
I
hear.
don't think $700 is too much to support a valuable resource.
No, I agree with Lori. I think $700 is again, it's minimal.
Yeah, so maybe I'll let Tim know that there is definitely support for the larger increase, and hey, could you let us know what the impact on services would be? And I understand that's not a simple thing for him to calculate and figure out. And I wouldn't want to be in his position right now. I think it's a really tough position to be in. But I think it'll be helpful for him to know that member libraries are going to say, yes, we can do this. The tricky part, of course, is libraries that are taking a much bigger hit. Like, Colony is a municipal library, and it's hard to know what their impact is going to be. And they're also a much larger library, which means their ULAN fee is much larger. So the sticky wicket here is getting all 29 libraries to agree to an increase, which not all 29 libraries are equally able to absorb. So that's the backstory
Judith?
of that. Yes.
This might be a silly question, but do all of the libraries have to agree on the same percentage of an increase?
That has always been the case, and there was
Okay.
someone's, and this is kind of a philosophical question. One of the better funded libraries said, well, if we want courier service every day, could we pay more? And it's really a big step away from how we've always operated. It's meant to be at least some degree of equity between libraries. Obviously Bethlehem's always going to be able to offer more than Scattercoke, but system services have always been made available equally. So maybe,
Okay,
but you can see how that would get contentious.
for sure. Right.
And so we'll go on to fines and fees.
Okay, so we're at the point that a couple libraries are looking to bring back fines and perhaps have not stopped charging fees. I know that Colony started charging late fees on October 1st, and Bethlehem is looking to start doing it on November 1st. My take is that they're a little bit premature. I think one of the big reasons for that is we're still quarantining books, so people are bringing books back. They're not getting checked in. For us to be able to say to people, don't worry about it, they will get checked in, and there are no fines. Like, that just kind of takes any degree of contentiousness with patrons off the table, because people don't need to worry that, I'm going to get charged a late fee. It's easy for us to say there are no fines, don't worry about it. The fact that our fine and free revenue is at 70% of what it normally is heartening. We have absolutely seen people be like, I know it was late. Can I make a donation? And they put $5 in the cash register for what would have been, $1.20 fine or something along those lines, which makes them feel good, right? They're being, kind of a good citizen, a good actor, as opposed to being penalized for bringing their book back. They're acting out of the kindness of their heart. So that's an emotional win there. They feel like they're supporting the library. Whether or not, we had been talking back in the winter about the pros and cons of eventually going fine-free. We don't know yet how many books aren't coming back because Upper Hudson hasn't started sending out lost notices, and we haven't run the report to see ourselves. But basically, our gauge of what books aren't coming back comes from these notices that we mail to people. You know, if their books are, you know, more than 6 weeks out, you get a letter in the mail being like, "Hi, you know, this book is considered lost. Please either bring it in or this is what it costs." So when that hits, that'll, I think, give us a good sense of, does having no fines and kind of discourage returns, although of course our being closed for 3 months also skews that. I'm sure there's a number of households where the library books just got, you know, deeper and deeper into the pile. So I think that it's going to be tricky differentiating the effect of being temporarily fine free with the effect of not letting people bring their books back. They're basically, the routines got broken.
Yeah.
So I didn't, you know, I wanted to let you guys know that some libraries are starting to charge fines and make sure that people are still okay with our not doing so.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it makes sense to keep while returns are disrupted to kind of put fines on hold.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. We will carry on. Along similar lines, you know, we've been at 50% staffing since we had staff go back into the building in June. As a local government agency, we are able to be at 100% staffing. Being at 50% staffing, in my mind, the main pros of it are it's much easier to social distance at work. I never thought of our workspace as crammed, but if everyone were there, people would have to wear the masks at the desk all the time. There would be no mask breaks because you're never really more than, you know, 6 feet away from someone else. And it does provide that kind of team A, team B. So, you know, if we were in the unfortunate situation where someone had COVID, one half of library staff would have to quarantine, but the other staff wouldn't, so we could do modified hours until those 2 weeks had passed. And because we're not doing any programming, we're able to skate by. It's a little bit tight in terms of manning the desk and staffing the desk, but the counterbalance to that is a week when you're not working in the desk at all. So then you can get the ordering done, the planning done, the craft prep done. All of our part-time staff have had their hours doubled in 1 week. So if you are part-time, you work full-time in the building 1 week and then not at all the following week. So that works out really well for our part-time clerical staff because there's less that they can do from home.
Yeah.
So when I was chatting with Marie the other day, I said, you know, in my mind, it makes sense to continue this model until in-person programs become a thing at the library. We have been doing some off-site programs, but that, you know, someone who's not working at the library that week can still do off-site programs and work from home in Mosher Park or wherever they may be. So I just wanted to let you know that that's how we are proceeding and make sure that folks are on board with that.
Sure, that makes sense to me.
Sounds good.
Yes.
It's working well.
Yeah, it's well enough.
Well,
No one can take time off on their week in the library.
right.
And then, so we've had a couple people start to come in wearing face shields and no masks, and I went back and kind of looked at our language, and our language did not say, it says, you know, kind of in accordance with the governor's mandate, face coverings required, and the governor's mandate does not say you need to wear a mask in addition to your face shield. So staff was a little bit of two minds about this. On one hand, you got to decide how many things are you going to enforce. Like, you know, right now, obviously, we're enforcing you need to have a face covering. You enter this way, you exit that way. You keep your 6 feet. There's a certain amount of, like, you know, do this, keeping people following the rules we have, right? Because I think as soon as you stop enforcing the rules you have, those rules don't work anymore. So there was a little bit of discomfort because I think there is a consensus that face shields are certainly less effective at protecting others than masks are. So the question is, do we want to say that face shields alone do not count as a approved face covering for the library? Another con of doing that is it is a little bit of a rule change midstream, which I try to avoid doing. But the numbers are small enough that I think I could just call those people and be like, hey, I want to give you a heads up that this is the case. So I just wanted to kind of get a feel for you guys' sentiment, if you've seen places that do one or the other. I did call Bethlehem, an SR director, and he said, oh, yes, no, they don't allow gaiters or face shields or handkerchiefs.
Yeah.
What is the governor's, I mean, it's according to the mandates,
Yeah,
but I believe it says masks.
when I went and looked, it did not. It said face covering.
Ah,
And it listed acceptable face coverings, and that did include face shields.
it did.
Yes.
Huh. I'm surprised.
You know, and I asked Judith how many people are actually coming in with the face shield. I mean, do we have a preponderance of people coming in, or is it just just a few?
It's a few. But, you know, like someone who had been wearing masks came in with a face shield the other day. So there was a little bit of, you know, it's probably premature to call it a trend. But we're like,
How do the rest of you feel about?
I mean, the statistics that I've seen show clearly that the mask is much more effective than gaiters or a handkerchief or I don't know what else, but certainly more than a face shield. I
Yes.
think the staff is at risk. I think it should be mask required.
I have to agree. I think it should be masks.
I guess my only concern would be the couple of people that I know that wear the face shields, and because they have some problem with the masks. So as long as it's only a few people, you know, it might be okay, but will those people still come into the library? Would that, if they can't wear their face shields, would it stop them from coming to the library? That's my only concern.
I don't think that, at least what I've read, the face shields, I mean, they're open. So it doesn't really, it stops, you know, any airborne particles from going in people's eyes but it's not safe.
I mean, could those people who can't wear the masks be encouraged to do the curbside pickup?
yeah, we actually had my first. It was
That's a
sort
good
of
idea.
Tough moment.
Judith, you're muted.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
We didn't hear a word you said. We saw your lips moving.
Oh, I have a visitor.
Oh,
Hey, hi there.
That's Babs. This is her 1 week anniversary with us. She's a foster. She's a sweetie. Anyhow, carrying on. Okay.
I mean,
so,
my daughter's a music teacher, and she wears a mask and the shield.
And
that's
yeah.
because she's a music teacher, and she has
Yeah.
to project her music to her class. That's to me entirely different reason than coming
Yes.
to the library.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So to the answer to the question about curbside service, the answer is absolutely. And that's what we've always told people who say, oh, you know, I won't wear a mask. You know, there have been people who are like, you know, mask is all a fraud,
Yeah.
etc.
Oh, yeah.
So the answer always is, well, you know, we can provide curbside service for books. We would be happy to make your copies for you. You just can't come into the library. I did have a woman in a wheelchair. It was just earlier this past week. Who it was a little bit heartbreaking. She is clearly not well, and this is, you know, to the extent that it's difficult for her to talk and breathe under any circumstance. So to tell her, you know, I'm like, you know, can we bring anything out for you? Is there anything you want? She just wanted to be in the library with her family. And we had to say, no, you know, we're sorry. But, you know, and obviously I would never say this to a patron, like, if your health is this fragile, you shouldn't be here.
Right.
So it's hard to see, though. It's hard to tell someone who's clearly does have a serious respiratory medical condition that, no, you can't use the library.
Right.
Sad. Yeah.
Well, they have to learn too. I mean, we're all in different kinds of boats that we have to learn from, and abide by.
I think, Judith, if you were to approach those people who have face shields and ask them again if they're really averse to wearing a mask instead just for that time, or I like the idea of the curbside service. If that person says, I have to use the face shield, and we know there are a couple of people that do, then perhaps that would be a method of assuaging people and not being offensive.
So basically that's
Possibility.
requiring something that covers your mouth and nose, basically, in the
Yes.
building. And then for everyone for whom that doesn't work, curbside is always an option. Okay,
Right.
so I will draft something up to that extent for next month, and in the meantime, we'll just kind of chat with these individuals and let them know.
Collect a little data.
Do you think it might be because they don't have the mask? I would think we could have a few available if they did come in.
We do
could
have.
offer-
There was one day that I gave out 7 masks.
Okay, so because I know down at St. down here at St. Pat, we've made 3,000 of them. So we could even put somehow we could get some masks
Yeah.
to you available.
Yeah, I'm happy to make more if that's if that's helpful.
Most of our masks hand out are the kids who forget their masks. Like the 12, 13-year-olds. So we have you get 1 mask a week because we don't want to be like their daily mask supplier. they're not nothing, like a buck each
Yeah.
or whatever. Okay, so that sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Let me know if you want me to make more masks for kids or adults.
Lori?
Oh, that's terrific. Well, we always have looked forward at this time of year to preparing for Sweets with Santa.
Yeah.
It's been traditional for years and years. And so I think we need to discuss how we could possibly reimagine this without, of course, passing out, having juice boxes, having long lines, having Santa right there to read to the children. We always had a huge influx of people, and even after the time, they just kept coming in. They just were so anxious, and we had the gingerbread houses and all kinds of crafts, and it was really a delightful Saturday at the same time that they're having a parade in town. Right? Santa is going to be in the village, I guess, on that day. So, who has some ideas on how we can reimagine it?
I don't,
Well, I think one idea is to make appointment blocks, and you might. I guess we might figure how many people can be in the space, and say it's 10. Could come at 10:30. 10 could come at 10:45 or something like that, and maybe
that's a good idea.
Maybe the
But
book.
do people adhere to that, though? I know, I think that's a great idea, but you know what happens?
That first backup.
I think they can't come in unless they've reserved a space. Is that?
Will they leave? I mean, I hate to say it, but will they leave for the 10:45 group or the 11 o'clock group or whatever time span?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We can have somebody be traffic cop and just usher them out and give them some kind of sweet, come and get your.
Or maybe it happens over several days instead of Saturday, because the space, all the surfaces have to be cleaned between.
You're right.
Right. So you got to alternate them.
I wonder, could we do some, a lot of churches now are doing these drive up, you drive in and the pastor is standing at the front. I wonder if we could have Santa at the front.
Oh.
The kids could be in their vehicles, the families could be in their vehicles. And then we did like a drive-through fireworks a few months ago. And as you drove in, the staff handed out jugs of cider and a dozen donuts. So I don't know how that would work if we were in our masks and we could be handing, as they leave or as they come in, hand them the craft, hand them, cookies or whatever, but we might be able to do it something outside.
That's a good idea.
Can we do baked goods? Because I know our church here is doing this big A supper this month. And we can't do baked goods. We can't have the cake sale. I was just wondering, does it have to be a packaged piece?
Oh, maybe.
I think it
Prepackaged.
should be. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like a juice box and a Rice Krispie treat that's packaged by, or whatever, some item, whatever.
Right.
Candy canes.
Candy canes, yeah.
So we could have Santa handing out the sweets. We'd obviously need to talk to Santa about Santa's level of comfort with that degree of interaction.
Wait for Santa.
Or we could be doing that because generally it's the board members who are manning the station. Santa could just read and
You could just be waving them.
Would you
yeah.
have him read? Like, how would that work in terms of the pacing for a drive-by?
How would you want? I didn't hear you.
How would the pacing work for a reading with a drive-by?
Well, I guess I was thinking everybody could either get their stuff, either drive in and we hand it to them through the window, or when they drive out, and then everyone's in the parking lot at the same time for the reading.
How would we manage on that one street? It's not like my
Oh no,
street.
we couldn't. We'd have to do it somewhere else, I think. But I mean, we have done things at Mosier Park, or we'd have to find another parking lot. I don't know if the schools would let us do something. Even our church is set up for that. I don't know if we could partner with First Reformed.
That's
Some good ideas.
St. Pat's here, I think they're doing the spaghetti dinner idea of going around the block. So they, it'd be like a one-way kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know how many less people would come if we did it somewhere besides the library, though.
Oh, well, that's, even though I know it'll be hard, I understand. But
What if Santa did his story and it was posted online?
Oh.
And at the library, it would just pick up a Christmas tree and the craft.
And then watch the story at home.
Right.
Yeah.
And not really pass out sweets. I think
Right.
people are prudent about this right now.
Yeah.
About
Yeah, I think you'd have to have a bag with.
out, right, and then how it was handled, and I think people are being cautious and circumspect, certainly, about what we want to feed children. I mean, I think we have to be careful.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of online,
Yeah.
having Santa read something, but I don't know about the food aspect.
I
I'm
think
reluctant.
it might be possible to buy, factory prepared Christmas decorated Rice Krispie treats and a juice box. Put it in a bag, and each car gets a bag that the board could hand each car. A bag for each child. I don't know.
it's so hard, no matter what you.
I wonder if we could have the kids have a little slip of paper they could hand Santa, because I think a lot of what people like is the ability to the sit on Santa's lap experience and tell Santa.
If you could make a big cardboard mailbox, he could be standing there and just have the kids put the letter in the mailbox.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Hand him a letter, he could read it real quick and be like, "Oh yes."
Yeah, who touches them would be Santa Claus in his glove. We don't even have to, whatever. I'm just going to, whatever. Whether we touch them again or not, that's up to us or whatever. But the kids, you could send out a form, or there could be a form, I don't know, that they could write the letter and drop it in the mailbox.
Well, and I mean, we could even write back to them from Santa. We, the board, could, and mail it back to them. And that way they would still be getting something, even if they're not sitting on Santa's lap. I would totally write Santa letters.
I would love it. Oh, that would, yeah. I would too.
And that kind of definitely decreases the amount of outside time. I mean, if you're planning for an outside event, you can't ask volunteers to commit to standing outside for hours. But if you had a 45-minute window where you could drive by, hand Santa your notes, Santa. It's an experience, but it's also drive-by.
When is it scheduled
It's
for?
always the first Saturday of December.
Okay.
Let me pull up my calendar here.
What I was gonna say, does anybody have?
Calendar.
All right, that's what I guess I did.
October. So that would be December 5th.
Okay.
And the parade, I think, is the 4th.
It's probably the 5th because it's usually
Or
Saturday
the
evening.
5th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it used to be Friday night, right? They used to change. Well, that might be a good day. Everybody kind of want to do it in one shot, and then they could go to whatever, you know. Yeah, I like the idea of letter to Santa.
And
And
then we
maybe,
also,
I don't know, like Lori said, maybe we could hand a candy cane that's, of course, pre-wrapped, or cellophaned. With old candy canes,
so let me reach out to Santa and see if Santa is amenable to this plan or amenable to anything. And I don't know if any folks kind of have a backup in mind. Like, do you know anyone who might be game?
If that Santa Claus might not do it, I have a connection to a Santa.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, good.
So I'll reach out to our Santa this week because he could be a little bit hard to pin down.
We used to do it at I Smiles up at Crossgate Smile and he just loved it. So
Okay.
I have a connection.
Good, good. For those of you who don't know Paul, he does a fantastic job and is lovely, but pinning him down can be a challenge. So it's good to start now.
And I had a feeling that he was not going to do it this year. So
Well, he always says that.
he always says it,
Every year
right?
is his last year. And then I say,
But he really loves
"Paul,
doing
you do
it,
such a good
right.
job.
Right.
So, but yeah, this
But
is,
I also
maybe
like the idea about the letter too.
and just let me know. I'm not taking over, but somebody I know would do it.
great. I'll reach out to Paul. Okay.
Well, we'll continue this discussion at the next meeting.
Good.
Okay, November meeting.
All right.
Okay.
Go team.
We'll go on to the patron survey.
Yeah, so I'll share this as well. Let's see here. Present, screen, share. Okay, so last month we talked about how we might want to tweak our annual survey, which we always do this time of year. And so this is what the draft is. I don't know if folks have had a chance to look at it. If they have questions or suggestions. You can see that we really use this as an opportunity to get feedback on all things 2020. I think one of the things I was hoping for feedback on is did these categories make sense? Like, were there other areas, or do the areas feel redundant?
The shorter the better sometimes because people don't like to read long choices,
That is true.
Yes, it's a dog. Yeah.
So thoughts, suggestions.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, I agree. I think you did a good job summarizing the things that you need feedback on.
Right. That's
Okay. Okay, well, if anything strikes any of you, let me know. I'll probably send it out next Monday.
Right.
awesome job.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or? ideas that you want to?
Yeah, it's really kind of what's the challenge now is so the take and make crafts work well and are popular. So we're just kind of exploring the edges of that. Like, can we do? We're gonna do, I think, a Star Wars Day this month. I think I included a scan of the October calendar in my report, maybe. And we reached out to the Historical Society to see if they want to collaborate on any virtual programs. Like, what are we not doing that people might feel safe doing and there'd be interest for? And yeah, we don't really know what that is. So if you see anything, say something.
I thought I did think the Batman Day was really well done. It was like we walked in and we weren't aware that it was Batman Day, but it really felt like a real library program. It gave me the warm and fuzzies. So it was nice that they could do that and do it so safely, but still make it feel like a real program. So
That's nice to hear.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're shooting to do one a month. We're thinking like a dinosaur, some dinosaur Saturday. We're doing it on Saturdays, obviously, to be family friendly, and then like an outer space one. If anyone has an enthusiasm that they want to share, let me know. But just kind of one kind of broad kid appeal themed day a month.
Okay.
Thank you. So we'll entertain a motion for adjournment unless there are some additional comments.
I make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Second?
I'll second it. This is Meredith.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Thank Judith again,
Oh, thank you.
and Lori for her excellent note-taking.
No
All
pressure.
safe and well.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
week, ladies.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Well,
Everybody.
Bye.
good night. Thanks,
Meredith
Judy.
Good night.
and Marie, can you stick around for a sec?
Sure.
So Lori,
Did you say me?
I did say you.
Okay.
Lori
You said
Nunziato.
Meredith?
Meredith and Marie. So Lori Nunziato
Okay.
came in today to do a bunch of checks, which I have not yet signed. Since I'm
Okay.
not home this week, I'm gonna plan. Pop,
Excuse me, how do I get out?
how?
I don't-
So you happen at the bottom of your screen, if you mouse over, you should see a red leave call kind of phone hang up icon. Or you can just close your browser.
Okay.
That should work. What's I gonna say? Okay, so I'm gonna probably go down to the library early Wednesday morning, before the other team gets there and sign the checks. So I know that Meredith hasn't gotten the chance, but I know that early we could do it synchronously or asynchronously. One of the words of 2020, right?
Right.
But you still have the girls early, right, Meredith?
Well, what time are you talking about when you say early?
Like 8:30, 8:45.
I dropped them at school at 8:35, so I could be down there 10 minutes to 9.
Oh yeah, that would work.
Okay.
Does Wednesday work?
Yep.
Okay, cool. In that case, Marie, you're off the hook.
I'm off the hook. Okay.
Great. So I will see you before 9. Just text me or call the library, Meredith, and I'll let you in.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
I'll see you then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye now.
Okay, bye. Take care.
You too. Take care.